Welcome to the Mile High Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Daniel Knowles. Thank you for joining us, and also thank you for being a fan of Mile High and never missing any Mile High tick. So that means you remember to hit subscribe, and whether you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher or YouTube, you want to always be tuned in to Mile High Tick, and of course, be at Mile High in June. We look forward to seeing you on higher ground. And as you know, this year we are focusing all about the art of chiropractic, which is something we've never done before, and I'm so super psyched about it. So make sure you're there in June. If you like Colorado in the winter and you think skiing, you're going to love it in the summer. It's a great place to be. I am super stoked to be able to have this guest today and introduce him. He's someone that I've known for so many years in chiropractic in so many different circles. Mark Lewis has been such a chiropractic supporter in so many ways. And I'll actually say where I first met him. He may not remember it, or maybe he will, way back. But he has contributed to helping so many chiropractors and chiropractic teams, and really so many people find their way to better chiropractic care in over, I'm probably 20, 30 years of his service in chiropractic. I'm sure he'll tell us exactly. So thank you so much for joining us today, Mark Lewis.
Dr. Knowles, great to be here. Thank you. Always a pleasure to talk to you and talk to the chiropractic community as well.
And if people don't know, Mark Lewis currently works with Platinum Software, who I'm a huge fan of and have been for a long time. I don't know actually your official title, Mark, with them.
Well, it's a little tricky, but I'm considered a consultant management. I don't work directly for the company in that, our main company is based out of Barbados in the West Indies. So I don't live there and I can't go into the office, and I'm a U.S. citizen and stuff. So I'm considered the sales and marketing consultant for Platinum System. But I've been affiliated with the company for nearly 20 years now. So and it's great to be in Barbados as well. I wish COVID would go away and go back down there and enjoy the nice island. So,
and what I'd like people to get out of this is you are an incredible wealth of wisdom. You have such a wealth of wisdom relative to chiropractic. And most people don't know that might know you as associated with Platinum. And that's why I'm excited to have you on this podcast episode, because I know there's a lot that you can share about doctors being successful. And we'll find out if you remember this, and it's okay if you don't. The first time I met you, Mark, was actually attending a CJ Merqz seminar for the first time many, many years ago. It was actually the only CJ Merqz seminar that I ever went to. I went once, and it was a trial, and so on. That was the first time I met you. And then later I connected with you with John Madeira's Chiropractic Pure and Simple program, and then through Platinum, and you came to our office and did our installation many, many years ago, which was such a treat because you helped our team. It was their first week. We had decided we were going to upgrade to this EHR software and invest in that. And the week before, 2 weeks before, our whole team quit. So Mark had to be there with an untrained team and get them up to snuff, which he taught them so much in that time. So do you remember that when we met back at that time?
I can't say what city was that in.
I honestly don't know. It could have been Dallas, maybe.
Maybe
but
so.
I was a CJ Merqz trial, so you probably I just met you that time, and then a year later saw you at something else. So
I don't remember. I can't say I remember meeting at the CJ Merqz program, but I do remember all the Madeira days and going through that. And I do specifically remember coming to your office and training, because you were my first network chiropractic office I'd ever done in my life, and that was a treat. And you actually adjusted me network, which I'd never experienced that well before. So I'd already been to the top right there when I went to your office. Well, what can I do?
Well, and so let's have people get to know you a little bit. Share a little bit about your history in chiropractic, how you got into chiropractic, and some of your experience.
We're going to go way back. I'm going to let my gray hair show today. So I actually went to school to be a golf professional. I was at Mississippi State University. I was a professional golf management major, and I actually ran country clubs for a while. And so I would, I was in Austin, Texas. I was in New Orleans. I was in Atlanta. I was different places. But I'd actually come back to Austin because I had grown up in the Texas area, and I had a lot of friends there and worked for a long time in the Texas area, in the Austin area, and was working at a club and actually met CJ Merqz on the golf course.
Oh,
He
wow.
was, yeah. So that's how I first kind of got introduced into chiropractic. And I was giving him lessons and stuff, and we play a little bit. And I had bad allergies at the time and stuff like that. And he's like, I'm a chiropractor. You ought to let me work on you and stuff like that. And I said, I ain't letting you touch me. There's no way I'm letting a chiropractor touch me and stuff like that. So, because I didn't know at the time, I was young. I was in my 20s and stuff like that. So he was out there. So finally, one day I was so bad, he's like, lay down. We're going to do this on the driving range. I said, all right. Just me a couple of times and started feeling much better. And it was interesting because we got to be kind of really good friends. And I started studying kind of what he did in life with his waiting list practice, a consulting program and stuff. And I was like, I think everybody goes through a time in their life where they, especially after college, where you don't know it. And you don't know it, right? So you don't know that how to actually, what do I do with staff? How do I market myself or market my deal? Because I'm running this country club and I know how to play golf, but I don't really know how to run a business so much. And so I thought it was interesting that was his field of teaching business stuff. And he actually said, well, why don't you come to a seminar of mine? I'm having it here in Austin, kind of sit in the back and listen. And I was blown away with his marketing strategies and how to talk to people and stuff like that. So at the time, there wasn't really anything else. So I was like, CJ, it'd be a really cool idea if we actually taught this to golf pros. And he said, boy, that's a great idea. I'd love to get into something like that. So he actually started training me on how to actually train other people of how to grow business, stuff like that. He would do these events like, the CE credit events. You love to do CE credit events because everybody's in the back of the page, reading the paper in the back of the room. He would teach me stuff. I would come in and he would teach me stuff when there were other people didn't really care. They were just there to get their credits, back in the late 90s and stuff where you didn't really have to pay attention anymore. But so we started doing that, and we actually presented this program to one of the major country clubs in there, and they said, well, it's a great idea. However, the pro doesn't own the country club. The country club is owned by a corporation, and we have our own people that do that. So we were like, oh, so we have no clientele to sell this to. So he's like, you know what? I've taught you my entire program. You know everything about it. So why don't you come to work for me as my marketing director and sales director? And I did. And within 6 years, we took that program to over 750 clients. We were doing seminars around the world. I was traveling with him. I was going everywhere. I got to meet, obviously you, I think, but I got to meet, tons of people like Dr. Madeira and Dean DePice and who does, Stephen Franson is doing remarkable practice now. I started meeting all these people and really getting into it. And at the time, I was also traveling around the world with him, learning how to run a chiropractic office. And we would actually go and speak. And I remember one time we were in Philadelphia, I was coming in from someplace, his plane got delayed. I had to teach a seminar for the first 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
So much of his program that I could teach part of his seminar to do that. And I had no experience in chiropractor. And they said the only thing I didn't know how to do was adjust. I could do everything else. And so then he actually found this program called Platinum. Well, it was called Chirologic. It was up in Canada because he wanted to develop a software for the clients that ran this high volume subluxation wellness type practice. And there really wasn't anything out there. So we started kind of working with some other companies. It flopped. It didn't go through. The tech support wasn't there. It just really didn't work. And some of the Canadian clients said, hey, you ought to look at this thing called Chirologic. It really works pretty cool. So he brought down this little French guy named Claude and this other little girl named Julie. They didn't speak any English at all. It introduced to this program. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I see how this can run a chiropractic office. And we actually put the software in the waiting list practice office to run the entire coaching program. It could actually be manipulated that way. And that's how I learned it. And at the time, we'd kind of hit a plateau with waiting list, and I could see some things on the wall where it wasn't going to work out. I don't want to get into the whole story of that, but my last name wasn't Merqz, so I wasn't going any further in the company. And then they were like, well, do you want to work for Platinum? And I was like, Sure. I have some stuff. I don't know if I want to travel that much because, in the very beginning, like yourself, you had to have a 2-day install. So I'd have to, the trainer would fly out and spend three days with an office. So it was 1 day in, 3 days with the office, fly out that evening. And you might do that 2 or 3 days a week. And I was like, cause I had I had 2 kids at a time. My youngest had just been born at the time, and he was a handful. I can get into a long story. My wife would probably tell you more about that, but I said, okay, well, I see an opportunity here. I said, I think it's a good product. I'll kind of do that. And so I started traveling around installing systems. And I put, nearly 1 million miles in my first 10 years with Platinum. I've got almost 2 million now. So I traveled quite a bit. But it really kind of was interesting in that I had learned how a chiropractic office worked. I had learned how the software worked. And then the marriage of the two just really fit naturally. I don't know of anybody in chiropractic that's had that kind of experience that way. And since then, I've probably been in 900,000 offices around the world. And it's really interesting to walk into a practice and go, okay, I need to see what you're doing here, and then be able to, okay, I see how your new patient process works. I see how your flow works. I see your tables. I see how you adjust. I see how you spend time with your patients. I see how your staff interacts. And to really tailor that to how a software works, it's been a unique experience. And I hope that's been valuable to the people I've served and gone out to see.
Well, I will say, I remember very well when you came out, because I met you at CJ Merqz,
Right.
and just once, and then we saw you at John Madeira, and I remembered you from that. The install, I will never forget that install, because I've talked about this at many seminars, because over the years, and you just, as you mentioned, we had lost our whole team. We had invested in having Platinum because we were on the verge of more growth, and had lost my whole team because really they weren't going to grow with us. They didn't want, this was, to them, it symbolized having to do more and more work, and they didn't want more growth, right? Which is something that you've probably seen in chiropractic office, where the staff doesn't want to tell the doctor to go to another place because they think it's going to be more work for them rather than easier. And so I had to get a new team, and we were going to be out of town. And so we had a new team, untrained, and you actually taught them so much about chiropractic in those few days of doing the install. It was such a gift to have you there. So first of all, with all those years of background before Platinum, what are some highlights of things that you learned that were characteristics of successful offices or successful chiropractic teams or chiropractors?
I tell you, probably the number one, when I walk in an office and I see the philosophy of chiropractic being taught, being shared, being understood by the staff, I think that is the number one source of a successful practice that I walk in. And it's just everybody believes it, everybody feels it, everybody knows it. The patients understand why they're there and what they're supposed to be doing, and what chiropractic does for their health. That is the number one by far. What, if I walk in an office and I've done this several times, a guy seeing 10 a day, and he's spending 20, 30 minutes with each patient, not, in a society that's just not productive to open up chiropractic and understand what it is. There's lots of therapies and decompression and stuff like that. Not to say that stuff's wrong, but they don't really get the they don't believe that chiropractic really works. I don't think in their mind, they think they need to do something else outside of chiropractic to justify billing this much money.
Right. But they don't think the adjustment is enough.
Exactly. They don't think the adjustment is enough. And when I see that, I'm like, oh, it's enough. Just believe it. Just and spew it and talk about it and stuff like that. So when I go into office like yours, or like you said, John Madeira, or Dan Yachter, for example, you're talking about a chiropractic warrior out there too, like yourself, and Paul Reed and these other guys that have done this for many, many years, that go into these practices. As soon as you walk in, it's like, okay, I see what we're doing now. I see what we're doing. And it was funny because when I was a salesman for and marketing director there at the weight loss practice, I would call these people would call us about coaching and stuff, and they'd say, I don't want to run a high volume practice because I don't want my patients to feel like cattle. All they do is just run them through. They're just cattle. They just run them through. They could care less about them. And to flip that paradigm and say, you know what? Why are all these people coming? They don't think they're cattle. They think they're being treated for what they're being done for. And that doctor has such a high mission to see
Right.
so many people that is a vacuum that's filling up. It's not that they want to see high volume, it's just there. And when you
Mhm.
get that concept, then it's a whole new deal.
And then you also realize that having technology that will help you do that or facilitate that versus it holds you back in today's world is vital,
By far.
because
And,
that
and that's
can hold you back. It's just like the waste paper basket can be too small and it's going to hold you back because it's just it's inefficiency. And same, it's no different than the technology in your office that can be just having a bottleneck,
and
versus
that's
being
where
fully present with the people because you have easy to use technology.
correct. And that's where platinum really comes into place. And that's what fits so well for me, because I can walk into an office and let's say the doctor can't finish their notes on time, or it takes 30 seconds to schedule an appointment, or people can't, the computer's slow and it's running slow. Your staff is not going to want to see more patients. It doesn't matter how many people you put in, or how much marketing, or how much philosophy you do, or how much in there. If your staff doesn't want it, they're going to stop. They're going to shut you down. They're going to say, I've had enough. I'm plenty. You got to hire 10 more people. And that's not really what it's about. It's about creating those better procedures and putting those processes in place that make it easy to see those kind of people. And that's where Platinum has really done an incredible job, and I don't know if kind of the history of Platinum a little bit, but the guy, Claude Cote, he actually was the programmer. He used to drive trains through Canada when he was first done. He was an ex-train conductor, and he had a friend that was a chiropractor. And he liked programming. He programmed this thing for him. Now the challenge with some of these other softwares is somebody gets a great idea that, oh, you know what, I can create this great software. It's easy to do. I'll just do it. I need some appointments, and I need to do some reports. I need to be able to put notes in. It's going to be easy. I can do this. But the challenge is then they tell a programmer that, hey, this is what I want. And the programmer has to go and interpret what this is that the chiropractor is talking about, and they design this program. Well, they might get it good for just that office or just that doctor, so it works good for them. But what this guy did is he went out and he did that on-site install, because when you first had to have Platinum, you had to have an on-site install. I remember our first seminar, we sold it there in Chicago. They sold 75 systems in 30 minutes. I mean, and that was a $500 down payment, $1,500 plus expenses to install, and $700 a month to have the software. Now that's not the price anymore. Well, it's a lot lower than that, but because of competition. But people signed up. They're like, boom, we want to get this thing right now. He went out personally and installed every single one of those practices.
Wow.
And when he was doing that, the doctor would go, this doesn't work quite right. So he'd stay up at night and program it to fix it, and come in the next morning, and there it was.
He had to be a really good programmer.
He was a great programmer, but he was not a programmer, because a lot of programmers are smart, and they're smart in an analytical way. They're not
Right.
smart in a common sense way. So
Right.
he had a little bit of both, which was interesting, because he had a lot of common sense that said, you know what, I see this and it should work this way. And the reason it should work this way, it'll make this job easier. So when he did that, it was like, oh man, I really understand that kind of stuff. Because I would go to him after I start working and say, the doctor came up with this. He would like this stuff programming. And Claude would go, oh, you know what? But what really would help everybody is to do it this way. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. So he would go and sit and program and do it that way. So that's why the program was so unique. One of my favorite quotes is in there, it takes 20 years to make an overnight success.
Yeah.
And I really believe in that philosophy, because you can't come out with something just right away and just learn something to be successful. You've got a plan. You've got to have knowledge. You got to have stuff behind it. And that's why I see it's not knocking a lot of the new companies and all of the new software companies coming out, because they're flashy. They look cool. They have some neat features, but they don't have the experience behind what really needs to happen to run your practice.
Right.
And that's where Platinum, might not look cool, but it goes fast and it works efficiently, and that's why people like it. It only has
Right.
2 screens. How can you screw around with 2 screens? It doesn't have 7 different icons and 20 different screens to click through. It's all right there in front of you. And when you're talking about seeing the numbers like you see and some of the other chiropractors see, it's seconds.
Right.
It's seconds to make that deal, because I'm sure when you're done at night, you walk out of the office.
Oh yeah. And that's one of the things I love about it, is that I can take a note in 15 seconds or so. and I never look at it again. So, and that's some people don't realize how valuable that is.
Exactly. I say, I ask people all the time, I said, what is your time worth? How much are you worth an hour of your time? Do you make $20 an hour? Do you make $100 an hour? Do you make $500 an hour? What is your time worth? And if you've got to sit there afterwards and do notes for an hour, you just wasted, $300 of your time that you could have been off with your family, enjoying yourself and enjoying your life, which you should be doing.
And here's the thing. That's one of the things that people don't realize when they're, we'll say, low volume to high volume practitioner. Truly, to me, one of the biggest things about a low volume versus high volume practice is people in a low volume practice haven't realized the value of their time. Exactly. And they don't realize that the value of an adjustment and how quick it can be and impactful. And that if they're using their time inefficiently, then what's going on is they're not going to adjust as many people or impact as many lives. And they also can't make as much because they're not valuing their time or valuing the adjustment.
Well said. Well said. And that's where, your systems and your processes need to fit with what your philosophy is. And it needs to fit with what kind of software you use and what kind of other things you use in your office to make those things go faster and be more efficient.
That's right.
And that's where, like I said, again, with my past experience, when somebody calls me and does a demo with me, the first thing I ask them is, tell me about your office. I ask them, how many tables do you have? How many rooms do you have? How many staff do you have? How many people you see in a day? What therapies you're doing? Because in my mind, I'm building a mental picture of that practice. I have been in your practice. I promise you I've been in your practice. And as soon as I build that mental in my mind, I can tell you how Platinum will work for your practice. Right. And that's what the interesting thing is of Platinum, is that it is so tweakable and so customizable that it'll work for PI, practice. It'll work for, Pettibon practice. It'll work for network practice. It'll work for Gonstead practice. It'll work whatever. And that's what the best thing about that is. It's very customizable in that way.
Right. Right. And that's vital. So now, going into 1,000 offices or however many it's been over the years, you must have learned a ton traveling around with CJ, I'm sure, as we just kind of discussed, in visiting other offices over the years. I'm sure you learned more being in that side. So what have you learned about successful practices in seeing 1,000 offices and so on?
Yeah, so, it's interesting. The higher the volume practice, the easier it is to run the practice.
Right.
By far. It was interesting. I tell a story, John Madeira is a good friend of both of ours and had been around Super Guy and stuff like that. I did an install in his office, and I don't know if you guys know John, but he has no parking. He literally has no parking. He's in Hershey, Pennsylvania. He has no parking. He's in this house in the middle of Hershey, Pennsylvania, and people drive around the block, and somebody gets out and gets adjusted. Somebody gets back in the car. They drive around the block. Somebody else gets adjusted. Never seen that before. He saw about 200 that one day. I saw him a deal. He also saw 7 new patients that day. I said, John, I never see one new patient walk in here. Where did these 7 new patients come from? Oh, I said, I haven't worked out this way. Like, see, so those little things right there, they've learned how to do that. And right. Like yourself, you do a little bit different technique, with the laid, and I hadn't seen that before when I came in. So you had 4 tables laid out. It was very quiet. Most offices are very loud. And you saw 200 or 300 people that day just laying down, it was quiet. I hadn't seen that before. So learning, and you had your procedures down so well that people just came in, they checked in, they sat down in their spot, they got up, they laid down when they're supposed to. They knew what was going on. It was almost like, I wouldn't say they're trained, but they knew how the process was going to happen in that office.
Right. They knew the flow.
And I go into a smaller office, and and it's not bad about small offices. Just the doctor hadn't quite learned yet that the patients don't really run the asylum so much.
Right. I say that sentence all the time.
Exactly. So when the patient's in there, hey doc, can you check this? Can you check that? Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do that? Can you come out here and talk to my dog and my son and they're all over the place. Well, they see 20 patients that day and they're exhausted. They're just done. I remember doing Dan Yachter's practice, and He's the biggest one I've ever done. We saw 386 patients at one day,
Wow.
and he adjusted everybody himself. And the funny thing is I was flying. I don't know if I was flying from your practice, but I was flying in from California that night, or flying in from Colorado that night. And he said, "Look, I'm gonna leave my door unlocked and just come on in." So we didn't really have an address on the outside, so I was looking at different doors in the neighborhood going, God, I hope this is his house. I walked in, there was a bedroom on the left. I slept there and I was like, God, I hope this is his house. And that morning I got up about 7 to go to his office. He was gone. He was gone at 5. I was like, okay, I'm going to go to his office. And I saw him at the office. Said, was your house this one? Did I sleep in the right house? I said, yeah, you're in the right house. It's good. So we, at lunch, he's gone. He's doing a health talk. Comes back after lunch. We see patients till about 5:30. After that, he's gone. He doesn't come back in till 11 o'clock at night. And I'm saying, Dan, I said, no wonder you're seeing 1,500 a week is that you don't have any time to do any of that kind of stuff. You're out and doing a run club in the morning. You got a lunch talk at noon. You got a health talk in the evening. You're going to this church, going to that church, going everywhere. And finally, he kind of realized that, we talked about this many years later and stuff like that about he was so passionate about what he was doing, but he was also kind of burning himself out a little bit with all that stuff, so there's a happy medium in there that I know he's found now, but those procedures and everything that he had played, it didn't look like. There's a stat in platinum that I think is interesting. It's in anybody that has platinum, it's called the LS8 report. It's a time performance graphic. And what that report does, it shows you how many people you're seeing per hour and the average wait time that people are waiting in your lobby before they get adjusted. So after the first day, I was like, I wonder how long people are waiting. At one time, he saw 75 patients an hour with less than a 5-minute wait time.
Wow.
I was like, there's no way, but things have changed a little bit there, but that's what passion can do. And that's what, he was so passionate at that time. It was in his late 20s. He had the energy and he just went for it, stuff like that. So get those procedures. And it was easy. It was just easy. He had 3 or 4 staff at the front desk. It was, that ran everything. It was easy. And like your office, it was super easy when I walked in there. They say, I trained your girls, but your procedures and everything were so simple to do. All I had to do is swipe this card, swipe them in over there, put the notes in, the billing's done, your care plans are set. It's easy. There's not this, I got to collect every visit over the counter. I got to reschedule them every time they come in. Don't build that into your practice. It just is clutter.
And that was something that I learned from John Madeira. It was when he heard that sentence, when I heard this sentence, he said to me, one of the first times I connected with him, he said, seeing more people is easier. It's about getting rid of all the other stuff and cutting things out. And people don't necessarily get that. So what's new with Platinum? Tell a little bit of the history and what's coming next with Platinum.
Yeah, like I said, we've been going on for 20 years there. And we moved to Barbados. The whole company moved down there about 10 years ago. It was kind of a scary change. I went down there and spent about a couple of 3 months and trained people and had a great time. I remember I'd fly in on Monday. My driver would pick me up. I'd train them all week and I'd fly out and do a seminar or do an install and fly back. And that was a hectic couple of months, but we got them all set up. So that's been 10 years. So it's been really great in Barbados. But the Claude had kind of gotten, he was happy. He was older in life and, he was kind of done with Platinum and we found new owners. And the new owners came in. It is an individual. It's not a private equity group like some of these people are getting bought by that has to report to all their venture capitalists and everything, all the private equity that's out there. It's an individual, super nice guy, really loves chiropractic, loves what we're all about. We've got a new CEO. His name is Christian. He's been really, really good. He really understands. He has leaned on the current staff, myself, our product developer. He's leaned on all these people and really kind of understood the business. So this year was their first year. They took over on January 1st of 2020. Mm-hmm. The first couple of months were great. Then, as you know, the world turned upside down. So it was a little bit different. But they really got to understand the business. He got to come out to a couple of seminars with me. The CEO did really kind of meet some people in the industry. And we really kind of took it. And we developed this incredible roadmap of where we want to go. So we've got this, people are always calling me, say, hey, can you add this? Can you add this? Can you change this? Could you look this way? Stuff like that. So we've been collecting that over the years and we're putting in this new roadmap. Now, the other thing is that, everything's going more cloud-based and more web-based, stuff like that. So as of this month, we have hired a programming team of 20, 30 people in this company that's going to take Platinum into more of a web-based, cloud-based system. So
Mm-hmm.
you're going to see new updates. You're going to see new looks. The whole key, though, and we work with them, the product director, Nadine, she's been there longer than I have. She's been there nearly 25 years. So she knows the program inside and out. If there's something I don't know about Platinum, I call Nadine and say, hey, how do you do this? So she's our product developer, and she's working with this new team on how to develop this new software in the cloud that's going to have all the same features that Platinum has, but be on a new level. It's going to be Platinum 2.0. So that is going to be really exciting coming out. Here in a couple of months, we're fixing to release something called Platinum Booking and Platinum Reach, which is going to be online scheduling. It's also going to be two-way text message reminders that are automated, that can be set up to do a lot of different things for you as well. Blast text messages, blast emails. Those are coming out. And then our first step towards the web here in a couple of months is going to be something called Platinum Go. And Platinum Go is going to be an online resource. We're going to use what's called an API so it can talk to our main system. It'll allow you to have Platinum on iPads, on Macs, on the web. It'll just be the front desk, some of the front desk stuff and some of the notes to start off with. And then this program, this other company is going to help us bring everything together with insurance billing, all the reports and everything else. So it's an exciting time at Platinum. We've changed our logo. I don't know if I'll go this way on that. We've changed our logo here, which is new and exciting as well. We did that this year, went through new branding. This side, there we go. And so that's been a lot of fun doing that. So it's put a lot of energy back into Platinum. Not to say that it was dragging, but we didn't have a lot of programming there for a while, but now there's great new energy, great new features, great new products coming out, and we're ready to take on whoever we need to. So,
Wow, I'm very excited about it, and as I said, it has served us well. Honestly, if we had not moved to Platinum, one, we wouldn't have had the impact we've had in other areas, Mile High and consulting, because it would have been too much work. It made so many other things in our life easier, in our staff's lives. And that's
awesome.
something that people have to understand about chiropractic overall and running a business. Um, Making things easier and more efficient lets you have more impact and makes your
Exactly.
staff be able to be more enjoy their roles more. And people don't necessarily realize that how much those go together, because they'll downsize, they'll do a lower solution, a lower level solution, something as, oh, I'll just do this for now. And then they don't have the impact that they could have.
Right.
And that's the path of mediocrity and the path of not growing. So I'm glad that, I know you've seen that with working with all the different types of chiropractic offices that you've worked with over the years and the people that you've worked with outside of Platinum as well.
Exactly.
So very exciting to have that. And we are excited to have you guys at Mile High each year. So, make sure people, if you're at Mile High in June, which you should be, I don't know where you'd want to be anywhere else in the world other than Mile High in June. Then what you want to do is make sure you talk to Mark a little bit, even just pick his brain about chiropractic and running a successful office. He could teach you things that most consultants could not teach. I will guarantee you that.
Can you tell? I know a lot of the Platinum listeners will listen too. Can you give a little bit more detail about Mile High and what you're trying to accomplish and what you're standing for? Because you've taken on a big new role here.
Well, and thank you for asking. And here's the thing, for me to get passionate about something, everybody's wired differently. People have different things that fire them up. For me, right or wrong, if something will get under my skin as an irritant, it'll spark me to be passionate about it and to make a change. And there are things that were going on in the profession that sincerely, I just irritated me. The direction towards more allopathic procedures, further away from the chiropractic principle, people wanting to expand scope into medicine, people wanting to do injections and all kinds of things. And I thought to myself one day, we were doing these battles and politically and chiropractic in our area, and not going into what they were, but in our backyard, And it was really irritating me that chiropractors weren't showing up for the political concerns. And that it really got me irritated. I said, you know what, darn allopathy, the apathetic chiropractors, when apathy leads to allopathy in chiropractic. And I thought, the chiropractors are apathetic. They don't show up. And realize, what do they show up for? Oh, they show up for seminars. I said, you know what if we put together a seminar with a bunch of kick-ass chiropractors that would kick the audience in the butts about doing something, for the profession. So it really was that I wanted to have a central place where people would come together and it would impact chiropractic for the future better, and get chiropractors shaken up a little bit to make an impact in their communities. And so, and really to people have a voice of from stage of what schools would impact, what things they can do in their area, what things to better chiropractic legally and politically, and what kind of things they could do in that. And so this year, and so every year we have a different theme or an area. Like sometimes we focus on the science of chiropractic, and so because a lot of people don't necessarily learn the science relative to subluxation in school, sadly. And sometimes we'll focus more on the philosophy because people don't necessarily learn the philosophy in school, as we talked about. And so this year we're going to focus on the art, because more and more people are learning chiropractic as a form of glorified physical therapeutics and really consistent with their principle. So we're going to have all presenters about the art of chiropractic, which I'm personally super thrilled about it. So yeah, and so we'd like to see, we're psyched about it in June. And plus, really, I see it as like the center point of the country that it can emanate out and have people get focused to the principle. And there's a lot of places there's some programs on either coast, but there was kind of this black hole in the middle of the country where there was not a source of chiropractic principle. So that was really the impetus. And so I'd love to see people there. milehighchiroregistration.com. And you've been there. You've enjoyed being there a couple of years. It really is a great chiropractic homecoming.
Well, you did a great job in the middle of COVID in Denver this last year.
That was not easy.
That was not easy. But you did a great job. You kept it going. People are fired up, and a lot of great stuff was done at that seminar with some very difficult situations. Very difficult.
Yes. Well, and I want to thank you seriously for all that you've done for chiropractic. Now, if people want to learn more about Platinum, how do they do that?
Yeah, just go www.platinumsystem.com. It's singular, platinumsystem.com. If they want to call me directly, I give out my cell phone to everybody. It's 512-775-4917. You can call me directly. I don't mind. I'll help you as much as I can. Even if you don't want to talk about Platinum, you just want to talk about chiropractic, I'm there for you. So let me know. Good.
And thank you so much. Thank you. Seriously, you have helped thousands of offices. And sometimes there's unsung heroes in professions that people don't realize. And I truly feel you're one of them. Thank you for all that you've contributed to the chiropractic profession over the years. And we look forward to seeing you in June.
Look forward to seeing you as well. We'll be there with bells on and ready to fire them up.
And hopefully, and I'm thinking at that point we won't have masks on anymore. So that will be.
That's right. It's who we're talking to.
I'd rather have bells than masks.
So, all right, sir.
All right. So thank you so much for joining us. And remember, always catch all the Mile High tick you can. Subscribe to the podcast and join us on Higher Ground in June. milehighchiroregistration.com. And seriously, if you want the best in EHR and technology for your office, hands down, Platinum's it. And get with Mark and learn more. Keep changing spines and lives and minds with chiropractic.